So, who is Johnny? I'm a ex-plasterer, so the first experience in a comedy club was life-changing. It's no exaggeration. I couldn't believe such a thing existed. Sometimes naivety and being a little bit not smart is almost a superpower because you don't realise it can't be done.
But the idea of these cats, or whatever you want to call them, when you see someone on stage, but you don't really see that these people, most of them have got day jobs. There's very few full-time professional comedians in Australia. I don't think you certainly could be accused of being in comedy for the money, can you?
I quite like the idea because it then makes you consistent throughout the whole series.
Yeah.
So, previous to being a comedian, I, as a silversmith and an enamellist, and if you don't know what enamel is, I will show you. Oh. It's a type of, it's like powdered glass, which you kiln fire, and it becomes like a solid surface. So it's a wee bit like sugar, and then the set in silver. But I loved it. I did it for, look how nice that ring is. But I did it for a long time. I've got no jewellery there at all.
What is that made of? Silver?
Silver and enamel, yeah.
Do you work with gold?
No, I don't. I used to, but it costs too much to keep it,
gold
and also
to stock it and
well, you need to keep it and it's secure. And,
So
there you go.
So that's your. Is that all yours, Jill?
Yeah, but I don't have much.
No, you haven't got much stock.
I literally don't. I was a jeweller and I ran this shop, which is a artist collective, and I did that for about 12 years. And before, like, why do you become a comedian? Like your job doesn't drive you to it. Your job keeps you going while you have the dream of being a comedian. I think, like, this was my day job. And comedy was and it was a hobby. It was like a thing that I started doing and I really enjoyed, but I never at any point considered it a career. I never considered it as anything ever more than just something I loved doing. So I don't think it was a hobby as such. It was something I did at nights for fun.
You got a buzz out of it?
I really got a buzz out of it.
Hobby's more like,
make
knitting or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Where comedy's
it never felt like a hobby. It only ever felt like something that made my life better and was different in my life, and that I felt really compelled to do. I had my day job. I loved it. I loved making jewellery. I loved running the shop. And then it sort of got to a stage where I was doing all of this and being a mum, and it was three things that were all quite consuming. And there comes a point where you go, I can't actually do all of this, and all of this. The kids bit is non-negotiable, so you always have to do that. And it got to a stage where it's 50-50. I was doing as much comedy as I was jewellery. And I'd been making jewellery for a long time, and actually I'd started to get pain in my thumbs with gripping, because you grip a lot. And I thought, what's the most logical thing to make a living doing? Like comedy, all you need is your brain and your mouth, you know. You can be older and do comedy, and your body doesn't play a part in it. I think I was becoming more and more obsessed with comedy to the degree that I was making jewellery, but I wasn't focusing on it as much as maybe I should have been, because I was always thinking about comedy. I think a comedian in the green room at the lounge one night said, until you pull the parachute and jump and then you realise there is no parachute and that you're just free falling in comedy, you'll never be a real comedian until you cut the parachute. And I remember thinking about that thing. I don't think that's true, I'm sure you can do the two things and coexist, but I actually think the day that I decided to make comedy everything, it did make me focus on it a lot more and probably enjoy it more because I didn't have the distractions. It just lets you be that single focused. I don't know necessarily if that's a good or a bad thing, but it's definitely how it's worked out. Move your hat, Johnny. Let's pop.
Oh God, it's a bit dirty, you know.
So I set up this shop about 10, 12 years ago with my friend Chantel, and we run it as a artist collective, and it's been really successful. And when I transitioned into comedy full time, I passed the reins on to the lovely Serena, and Serena makes her own jewellery, and her business is called... she's even got a logo on her t-shirt. And how's it been, Serena, since you... Yeah.
It's nice to be part of a collective of artists. Like every time I come in, it's a version of creativity which then sparks off my own. I like it.
So the shop is run by Serena and Lee was my former business partner as well. So even though I passed the reins on, I think I passed the reins on to someone who can take it into the next phase of the collectives, and I'm glad of that. I'm glad that it's still going. So even though I'm not running it, I know it's in good hands with Serena.
Are you funny at all, Serena?
Am I funny? No, I was going to say I'm not as funny as
Shut.
Nobody is, darling. To be fair.
I think when, as you talk, it's very similar to how I felt when I was my plastering. I was a plasterer. It was horrible. I didn't hate the job, to be honest.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound, but it's not a nice job. You're getting filthy dirty, very, very hard work, And I was at work plastering and then thinking the jokes and writing them on the cement bag, and as you suddenly start thinking of comedy all the time, don't you?
Yeah.
And it just grows on you to the point. It's like an addiction almost. Don't you feel?
I think it's like somebody once described it to me as comedy's like heroin. You try it once and then that's it. You spend the rest of your life trying to recreate the buzz of that first time.
Hang on, that's probably
and I think that's probably
pretty accurate.
entirely true. I never sort of lost that sense of wanting to do it, and even now I do a lot. Like I work a lot, and I still love even, quite bad gigs as well. Like I still love any. Like it doesn't matter the
Picking
room.
that microphone up, you just want to get attention on it.
Well, I don't know if it's... Well,
it is.
do you know, my sister said to me, she said, you always wanted to be the centre of attention. And I was so insulted by it because I just thought it was the rudest thing. And I didn't think that was true at all. But I always wanted to be on stage. Yeah. And I couldn't sing. So what choices do you have? What are you going to do? Learn guitar? That takes like forever. And I've left, to be honest, in your 50s, you're not going to become a guitarist in a band. Nobody's going to, even if I've got really good.
That's it.
Who
wants to see it?
It's
no disrespect. You're a lovely looking woman. But, there's a lot of 19-year-olds with guitars that we would rather look at.
So
that's added a bit up. I wasn't being horrible. Sorry, I wasn't being horrible.
No, it's true. Like I wanted to be on stage, as a child, and my parents hated all that. They were like, "Don't show off. Don't make a show of yourself. Don't stand out. Don't draw attention to yourself." Oh, that was
just fade away and then die.
Fade away. Work till you're dead.
Pay off your mortgage, fade away and die. I should put that. That should be
my epitaph.
That's my inspirational speech. Gill said, "Just fade." That's how I was
work till you die.
No,
that was the Scottish.
Yeah.
I think that's the working class narrative, isn't it? It's just work hard, be decent, raise your children, become old and die. And that is, for some people, how you want to live. It's not, however, how I've chosen to live. And I'm having a renaissance in the latter.
Without being too personal, obviously, is it common knowledge that you're now not married and you've broke up with your husband?
Yeah, well, it is now, I think.
Have you broken up with your
husband?
I'm just double checking.
I do think comedy put a strain on my marriage, not because comedy puts a strain on a relationship. Comedy shines a light on your relationship, right?
Exactly.
And what comedy for me was like it opened a door, and I walked through the door, And you have two choices in life at any point. You know, you can either go through that door or you can stay behind the door. I realised I'd been behind the door a long time, and when the door was open for me, I did realise there was a world out there that I really loved, and my husband didn't really love it, and it didn't fit his narrative of how we would live. And that's unfortunate. It's Pandora's
It wasn't
box.
going to work. I could predict
It's
that from day dot.
From day one.
Because
the material I did was always...
you're so different to...
I know.
To your life is so different, isn't it? What you want to be doing, you're in love with comedy now. Or you, like you say, your kids are now, you're there for the day you die. You love them more than life itself. But when it comes to comedy, it's such a driving thing that it's like heroin, like you say. You have to do it.
It's Pandora's box. You open the lid in it.
And there's no going back
There's
now.
no going back, because you see a life that, for the first time in my life, everything kind of makes sense. And that seems insane in your 50s to have an epiphany going, this is what I should have been doing.
You don't want to be young and hot. You want to let yourself go to shit. That's what they're wanking over. It is. I've watched a bit of porn, you know, just for research and that, you know. And I've seen these poor women objectified in the prime of their life. There's Maureen on all fours getting pegged harder than a tent in Mangerai. You can see the sadness in her eyes. She's not doing that for fun. She's doing it to buy the kids birthday presents.
Like, as much as... I've been an artist my whole life, and I love working with my hands, but there was always an unresolved part of me, which was language, writing and jokes and humour and things that never fitted into any other part of my life, but it was always there and it was unresolved. And when I started comedy, it just, that all like clicked into
I could
place.
tell from the minute, the same as when I did it, Jill. I never even knew a comedy club existed. I went to a show and I thought, never mind picking up a microphone. That was a year later. I looked and I thought, oh my God, this is like religion. I didn't realise this existed, but I know I've got to have this. I've got to be involved in somehow. I was just plasterer at the time, married with 3 kids, you know, mortgage and all the things it is. But you've got to do it somehow, haven't you?
It's an inexplicable thing, and it's hard. It's hard.
It's not like wanting to earn extra money or that desire. It's beyond that, isn't it?
Trying to explain it to people, because it makes no sense. Because to give up
a business is
a nice
doing
life,
all right for yourself.
a nice cosy, a good relationship. Well, a relationship. To give all that up because you want to pursue some artistic dream seems insane for most people, because most people don't ever.
They don't share it. If your husband had been a comedian as well, or wanted to be a comedian, then obviously you'd have that. It'd be tough, because who's looking after the kids?
Yeah,
but
obviously.
But that aside, then you could have shared. You know, could have somehow made it work.
But the funny thing is, my daughter sings. She's a very gifted singer. She's on a music scholarship, and I've taken her tons of gigs to give her a sense of what showmanship, and she doesn't have that in her. She has the ability, which I suppose a lot of people have, but the difference between people with an ability in a thing versus people who will succeed in a thing is that single-minded focus or drive or desire to achieve, which my daughter doesn't have. Maybe she will later on, but she definitely doesn't.
How old's your daughter?
She's 16.
Right.
I
mean, I didn't know what I wanted to do till I was 42.
Exactly. I know. So I think she'll come to it in a different point in her life, but it definitely makes me realise how driven I am in comedy, and that I've never taken it lightly. I was never casual about it. I was never like, let's just go. I've always tried so seriously.
A lot of energy. You're a very energetic act.
Yes.
The timing, I reckon, for you is good. You know, it's good timing, because there's not enough funny women out there. That's right.
There's not enough women.
There's enough funny women out there, but they're not. You think it's 50% of the population is women. How many percent of the comedy scene is women?
About 8%.
Right. It's ridiculous. So we're going to try and do a thing soon. We're going to do a call out to try and get women involved, because
It's insane.
It's the
There
demand.
has to be more. There is a demand for women, and I also find that on any lineup, I'm always very well received because my perspective is different from what they see on stage, and it works well for me. There's only one of me, and I think I'm hitting the mark. Like I love Gong Show because
We always win it.
I always win it.
Ironically, Jill was the one that doesn't need the money, right?
No, I do need the money though.
But Jill wins every time.
I have quite a high success rate. I say other comedians like grimace when
you're on the lineup, they know they're going to get the most. They're going to get what do they get?
$50
They get 1 or a 50, don't they? Yeah.
Well, just try harder. That's what I would say.
Stop being lazy. Do you want a coffee, Jill?
Yeah,
Come on.
let's do it. I'm coming up in January. I'll be 6 years at doing comedy, and that feels like it's gone like that. But then in some ways I think like 6 years is nothing, really.
No, in the comedy world, it's sort of accepted that to get good, it takes 10 years.
Yeah,
typically.
That's the typical thing.
But obviously then you've got some that take 15 and some that take 6 or 5.
Some that never achieve.
Yeah.
There's some people.
There's plenty that never
Plenty
achieve.
that are 10 year in and
They're still shit.
are doing the same jokes they did 10 years ago.
When you think you pick up a microphone for the first time and you get laughs, it's so it's so addictive. But what they fall in love with is not preparing, writing those jokes and that. They fall in love with the hanging around the green room, talking about people behind their back, smoking dope, eating Mars bars, and that is also a lot of fun. It's a fun part of it.
It's a community. Like even though there's a lot of backbiting and infighting and all the rest of it, there still are. It still is definitely a community.
Because everyone, you all got that in common. Of course, you want to be the star on the night, and so does everyone else on the room. If anyone's a decent comedian, they want to be the best one on the night. You don't want to be, I'm okay, happy being third best. You always want to be the best, don't you? But because you all know that, that's already a given, isn't it?
Because what we're all dreaming of is at the end of a gig when you're chatting to other comedians. What the dream is someone from the audience comes up to you and says in front of all your comedian friends, you were the best. Yeah. And you go, thanks very much. And then, only to make that better, they'll go, oh no, and you were really good too. And like,
that's it, yeah.
Yes, have a lovely gig. I'm happy for you all, but as long as I get singled out.
Those other comedians are there to make you look good.
Correct.
And that's all there is to it.
Correct. Somebody once said to me, why, doing comedy, it must be just so great to make all these people happy, and you bring so much joy to all these people. And they said that must be the reason you do it. And I said the reason I do it is to make me happy. I don't actually care. I mean, it's a byproduct of everyone. It's great that everyone has a great time, but when you're on stage, I think it's all about you. It's about how you feel in that interaction, isn't it? It's as much as it is lovely to look all those happy faces.
Everyone's having a great time. Oh yeah, what a buzz when someone's had a death in the family and they haven't been out for 6 months and you make them laugh.
It's a byproduct of your own enjoyment.
That's not the reason you're getting up there. You're not going, Susie's husband passed away recently.
No.
You don't care.
No.
It's not a horrible thing, it's just the reality.
It's just the reality of it. And I think that's surprising to people on the outset as they see it as this beautiful, joyful thing you do. And it is joyful, but the joy is like a byproduct of your own self-absorption.
And all that culminates in the performance, but there's also, I found with comedy, especially when I was performing, for a very brief window of my career, I'll perform for about 3 years. But that, I used to love that. But what I think made it more enjoyable was the thinking funny all the time. So instead of thinking about the normal problems that we've got, mortgages and it was always, that's funny. What a nice thing to think this is a funny idea. Or, there was so much excitement to try something new, and Roger, was a big downside when you try something you thought was so hilarious and
I
everyone's
know,
suddenly
and people are like, what
the shit, this is terrible.
I love when you have an idea of something and then you say it in the green room and go, what do you think of this? And everybody's face is just a bit like, and I'll go, no, I'm still committed to it. I'm still going to go on stage and do it. And then you go on stage and do it. And because it comes out through your voice to the audience, the audience love it. But like your colleagues, so actually passing jokes backstage to other colleagues isn't really usually that helpful because they don't. And then somebody said to me the other day, yeah, but you've just got a funny voice and anything you say sounds funny. I was like, I don't think it works like that. Like, I think they think just because you've got an accent, that will pass it off.
Yeah, but ultimately, if you're boring, your voice becomes boring as the same as you.
Yeah, I know.
You can't get away with just having a good accent or just being good looking or whatever.
Yeah, it's not enough. It's about everything. But yeah, sometimes I have a thought for something and I'll speak to another comic about it and they'll go, it's not fun. Like it doesn't make me laugh, and I'm like, but I don't not think that will be funny.
No.
You know, that's for me. Thank you.
Lovely. You have sugar in coffee?
I have sugar in coffee.
Did you used to have sugar in tea?
Yeah. I used to have milk and sugar.
I stopped sugar. I have milk, but I stopped taking sugar about a year ago, and it really was hard for about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But now I couldn't drink a cup of tea or coffee with sugar in it.
I don't eat sweets anymore, and I used to eat tons of sweets. I used to eat tons of chocolate and Twix. I tell you, nothing better than a wank and a Twix, is there? Sorry, edit that out. But
hope you're not advocating.
No, with the Twix.
No,
Johnny.
Jill, you're a filthy-minded, saucy minx. Yeah, you're a saucy minx, Jill. I don't want that. That's got to go in the interview.
No, I stopped. I've been really health conscious this last year.
What?
Because I want to do this.
Yeah.
And you need to be healthy for it. I don't care what anyone says. Like, you can drink yourself into a pit if you want and do this job. And there's so many functioning alcoholics.
Yeah.
But I don't think it helps.
Sharper. It's like driving. No one's a better driver when they're drunk. They just think they're a better driver.
I know. But it's been, I think, really one of the best things that's ever happened to me because it has given me so much purpose. And I feel it was a part of my life that was unfulfilled. And that sounds really like huge, but it's only recently that I felt, I don't know, like I feel at peace with myself. Do you know what I mean? I don't feel as weird. I was always so awkward and weird and difficult. Do you know what I mean? And that was at school, it was as an adult, it was through marriages. I never quite...
You say jizz, Jill. How many marriages you had? 2. Oh, I didn't know that.
I was married previously to a Scottish guy, and we were married about 12, maybe 15 years, something like that. And then
it's quite a long time.
It was a long time, it wasn't like it, but we met when we were 18.
Yeah, right.
And you change so much, and
so that, I'm working it out. 33, roughly, and then how long did it before you married this latest husband?
The last one, probably about 2 years, 2.5 years. I went to Europe and worked in ski resorts to escape my divorce.
Yeah.
And I met, you've heard the joke about, I met him in an Italian ski resort, and I did, and I don't know, like I was pregnant really quickly, and then I don't think we got to know each other, and we just end up being married with kids, and that happens a lot of people, doesn't it? You know?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not.
I think I'm done with husbands, though. To be fair, I think the next part of my life.
Why would you even think about getting married again? Have fun, have a laugh, go back for a meal, whatever. No sex, though, Jill.
Yeah, no sex. No problem.
Yeah. So you think about with talking about your journey when you discovered comedy about 6 years ago, or first was 6 years ago. How old are your kids now?
16 and 17.
16 and 17, right. So
They were 10 and 11.
But you've now, as you think about it, they're by far, your kids are never, you're always worried about them until they're 102.
They're fully formed people, though.
But they got their heads around them now. So you've done, it's the hardest job in the world being a parent, isn't it? Because it's more sacrifice than anything else to be a parent. But I guess maybe the timing, you must subconsciously have come to a realisation, and the kids they've got their own lives. You're still there for them, aren't you?
Of course.
You're still their mum, no matter where you are, or what you're doing.
But they understand the job. I think
they approve of it. You do.
My daughter really approves of it. My son, he's a 17-year-old boy. He's just interested in himself.
Yeah.
But they're much more. I think they much more accept it than maybe my husband did. Because it was easier for them because they were brought up with it. They were like, that's what mum does. And my daughter thinks it's cool. My son thinks it's cool as well. I think they like the idea of having a mum that does something that's cool and they can boast to their friends about it, But my daughter, I think she genuinely loves the whole thing. Like, she comes to shows and that, and she loves it,
That's good.
And she's like she'd be my greatest supporter. She'd go, Mum, you were the best. And I'll go, and thanks, there's $100. Go buy something nice.
Go out.
But I spoil her all the time. So, but they're at a good age now where my career's just taken off, and
kids can get, and at that age, kids get it. I think it's hard when they're very young, 3 and 4 year old or 5 year old. Mum and dad splitting up. But be honest, like, if you went to your kids' school and see what parents are together, they'd be less together than split up.
I know.
It's so, and I always think after there's been a few things going on in our lives lately, and now I think when someone says, "Oh, split up," and I used to think, "Oh, sorry, that's such bad news." I think, who gives a fuck? With that being horrible, if you weren't happy, split up. Stop. No one wants to hear your sob stories about how hard your life is.
How I say it is, I say nobody's died.
Exactly.
It's just the next phase of our life. Let's not make it a bigger drama than it needs to be. At the end of the day, that expression, you're a long time dead. I feel like I'm not religious, but like I've got some God-given thing that I need to do it. I need to do it. And honestly, I could never honestly just go, you know what, I'm done with comedy now. And then spend the rest of my life reminiscing on the good days and looking at the pictures. Oh, do you remember that? Happy days. Honestly, I'd jump off a building.
You're like Joan Rivers,
oh,
wouldn't you?
God, no, I'll be like Joan Rivers. I'll be 87, I'll be getting facelifts, I'll be on stage. I want to die on stage. I do. I want to do it till I die. I want every medical procedure to keep me alive long enough
to do it.
To do it.
She's Joan Rivers, brilliant comedian. She's dead. There's market for the new Joan Rivers, and you've only got about 30 odd years to get up to that.
I'll do it. Yeah.
Nice.
I feel good. Like, the future feels bright for me, and I think comedy is at the core of that. It gives me great joy. It's given me a purpose in life that I never thought I'd have at this point in my life. And I love it. I just love it.
I think this concept of this sort of bullshit interview is better than the one in the venue.
I think so. I think it'll look nicer as well.
More genuine, yeah.